Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to give folks another minute to sign on. I know we started the meeting right at 12, but we will give folks a minute and then we will get started. Thank you all for being here. Okay. Well, thank you everybody again for being here. My name is Mallory Workman, and I am the Community Relations Specialist for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. You are attending our April session of our Support Through the Lifespan series, which is a series of webinars that we hold monthly addressing various services or resources that are available for different aspects or different eras of the lifespan for the folks that we serve here at Delaware County Board. I am pleased to introduce to you two wonderful folks from Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. We are going to start off today's webinar hearing from Taylor DiDonato, who is the Transition Program Administrator. And then we're going to pass over to Carrie Grafton, who is a Rehabilitation Program Specialist, to talk about post-secondary services and what that looks like. So for those that are attending today, this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel and our social media accounts. But if anyone has any questions that are involve personal information or specific circumstances, we'll make sure that the recording is paused during those so that your information isn't out there. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Taylor to talk about the transition process.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. Again, I am Taylor DiDonato with Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, and I am currently the Transition Program Administrator. So today we're going to talk through transition and post-secondary for youth and young adults with disabilities. So we look forward, me and Carrie Grafton, look forward to chatting with you all. All right, so just some objectives for today's training. We are really hoping that you take away some increased awareness for OOD, or Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, and our role, so OOD's role in supporting people with disabilities at any stage of life. We also hope that you can explain the vocational rehabilitation process, including application, eligibility, and individualized planning. So having that foundational knowledge of what we do here at OOD, along with promoting early engagement for successful outcomes. So hopefully we convince you that getting started early is probably one of the better things that we can do. And then we're going to obviously highlight some transition and post-secondary specific services and answer any questions you have around those two focuses at OOD. So before we get into transition specific and post-secondary specific things, Carrie and I wanted to just talk through a little bit about the who OOD is. We want to make sure everyone starts out on the same page here. So who is OOD? We are the state agency that empowers Ohioans with disabilities through employment, disability determination, and independence. And today we're really going to be talking about the services and supports that lead towards that employment and independence piece. We are part of the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation in Ohio. So again, that is the bureau that provides employment services to eligible individuals to help them prepare for, obtain, maintain, and advance in employment for individuals with disabilities ages 14 and up. And then some specific partnerships and initiatives at OOD include transition, so high school, also post-secondary, so colleges and universities. Shout out to our C2C, College to Careers. We also have community behavioral health, partnerships with county boards of developmental disabilities, along with specific services and supports for individuals both blind and low vision and deaf and or hard of hearing. So we have a lot of different partnerships and initiatives to help support all individuals with disabilities in Ohio. And really, what I want to make sure here that's kind of hopefully you notice is that OOD is different than the Department of Developmental Disabilities, so DODD. OOD, we specifically focus on jobs and independent support, while DODD, so that Department of Developmental Disabilities, is really about the care and the services for daily living for individuals with disabilities. And one thing I want to note though, while we're different, we collaborate quite often. So we work together frequently to provide that wraparound support and care for our individuals with disabilities. All right. So again, just to give us a baseline understanding, there are different roles in who you might come across or work with here at OOD. So, who you might first interact with, depending if you've submitted a referral and you're receiving a call to set up that initial appointment, you might speak with our customer support specialist or CSS. So, that is our administrative support. And they are the individuals that are helping manage all of the referrals coming in and scheduling our intakes. So you might hear from one of them across the state if you are referred for our services or you make a referral for someone else. Then we have caseload assistants or CAs that help us actually facilitate and coordinate that intake. So to open up a VR case with OOD, we have our caseload assistant meet with you, and they're going to go over all of the paperwork, have you answer some questions, and really just gather some of that required information and documentation to support the further VR process. From there, you're then going to work with a vocational rehabilitation counselor. So, our counselors are going to assess individual needs, provide guidance and counseling, develop that individualized plan for employment or IPE, and coordinate all of the services. They're also going to be the liaison person for anyone working with multiple agencies. So I just wanted to give you that overview of, OOD, and then Carrie's actually going to jump in and she's going to talk a little bit more about the process before we get into transition and post-secondary.
Thank you, Taylor. This is Carrie Grafton. Again, I am a rehabilitation program specialist for OOD in the Support Employment and Transition Unit for all things post-secondary and college to careers. And this slide shows a graphic of an arrow that is going towards up and the right. And it says vocational rehabilitation process overview. So the VR process or vocational rehabilitation process is typically linear. It starts with applying for services and working through eligibility and order of selection and services that the person is going to need to obtain and maintain employment. And then it works through until someone's case is closed. And typically someone's case is closed when they've been successfully employed for at least 90 days. So sometimes this process may look different depending on what a participant needs, but it always starts with an application for services and then works through the different phases. So this slide breaks down the process a little bit more. So the process would begin by a referral source, the participant, their family, someone logging on to oodworks.com and starting the application for that person to participate in VR services. So the individual or the referral source completes the application. That application gets sent to OOD, and then an OOD staff person, typically the CSS or customer support specialist, would contact the individual or the referral source to schedule an intake. Once that intake is scheduled, then the participant would meet with a caseload assistant or CA, and that meeting could be in person, it could be virtual through Teams, or it could be on the phone. During that intake, the CA is going to ask a lot of questions about the person's diagnosis, what they're experiencing with that diagnosis, how that diagnosis impacts their ability to work, and get some consent forms signed for doctors or counselors or school personnel. And then if the person has documentation already regarding their diagnosis, then the CA would be able to take that information. Once that intake meeting is complete and all that documentation is loaded into our system, then a VR counselor will look through the information and make a determination about eligibility. And on this slide, we talk about our eligibility criteria. There are 4 eligibility criteria to be able to have a case with OOD or any vocational rehabilitation agency. Number 1, the person must have a documented physical, cognitive, and or mental impairment. So any diagnosis that could cause an impairment to employment is considered a disability for OOD and VR's purposes. The second one is that the applicant's physical, cognitive, mental health impairment constitutes or results in a substantial impediment to employment. So without supports, this person would find it difficult to get and keep a job. The third is that an applicant can benefit from the provision of vocational rehabilitation services. This means that given the appropriate or best supports, that this person can work. So they must be able to work with support, must be able to benefit from VR services. And the last one is that the applicant would require VR services to prepare for, secure, retain, regain, or advance in employment. If the applicant does not need our services, then they are not eligible for our services. If the applicant can get services from a different agency, then they don't need our services. We are unique in that our services are solely about getting and keeping competitive integrated employment, and any of those services, including training, that would lead to competitive integrated employment. So when we talk about eligibility, we look at functional limitations and what a person is experiencing when it comes to barriers to work. So we have 7 areas of functional limitation that we look at when we're determining someone eligible. And they are communication, whether it's verbal, spoken, written, hearing. Mobility is about access and ability to get from place to place. Self-care, can they take their medication without help? Can they feed themselves? Can they dress themselves? Interpersonal skills, how they get along with coworkers, other students, family members. Work tolerance is their ability, their stamina, their ability to work multiple hours in an integrated setting. Work skills is, can they do the job? And then self-direction is their ability to stay on task. So after someone is determined eligible, we then have to write up their plan or their IPE, not to be confused with an IEP because we all love acronyms. But an individualized plan for employment talks about the person's goal first. So we do backwards planning. We talk about what that person's employment outcome is going to look like. And we take into account their abilities, their capabilities, their limitations. And then we also look at labor market and training that's needed. And then once we have that goal determined, then we identify services that are needed to reach that goal. So it's similar to the IEP or the ISP or clinical treatment plan. It utilizes information that's gathered from the intake. It includes timelines. So how long is this going to take? Which service providers are going to provide the service? How much it's going to cost and what the employment goal is. And how much it's going to cost is also who's going to pay for it. Is this something that OOD is going to pay for? Is this something that's going to be covered by a comparable benefit? Is this something that DD is going to pay for? So all these things are worked out through the IPE process. And then regular monitoring by the counselor throughout the life of the case. And the IPE can be amended as needed, and it's reviewed on at least an annual basis.
All right, this is Taylor DiDonato again. Thank you, Carrie, for that. And now let's kind of get into the transition and post-secondary portion, what you guys are here for. So service provision. So OOD, all of our services are individualized. We have a plethora of services available. And those might include things such as the vocational guidance and exploration of careers, interviewing and resume development, job search, job placement, job coaching, transportation assistance, education, so supporting our high school educations, GED options, post-secondary training and education, work incentives consultation to help us be informed when making decisions about futures, interview and work clothing, shoes, tools that are needed for the job, transition specific services that I'm going to get into in just a moment, and then post-secondary specific services, which Carrie will get into here shortly. So let's take a deeper dive now into that transition specific services. So what do I mean when I say transition? So here at OOD, we have a very specific definition of a student with a disability that we use to define transition and basically define what services are available to that individual. So a student with a disability, or SWD, is an individual that is age 14 through not yet 22, has a documented disability, which is, again, any type of disability, including learning, behavior, mobility, hearing, vision, etc. And they're in a recognized education program. So high school, including homeschool, career tech, post-secondary, so that college, occupational training, might also be considered a student with a disability. Okay? So what that means when we find someone that has a student with a disability and we're working with them here at OOD, not only do they have access to all of our services, but there are specific sets of services available only to those students with disabilities. One of those areas is pre-employment transition services, or PREETs. So there are 5 of these pre-employment transition services available, and they are truly designed to help our students identify career interests and improve that transition of students from school to any post-secondary education, training, or a job after high school. So let's break down each of those 5 services briefly, just so that you guys are aware of what those are. So we have job exploration counseling, which helps our students learn what types of careers are in their backyard, so where they live or where they want to live, and explore some of the employment interests that they already have. So really digging in a little bit and exploring those interests. Then we have work-based learning, which is more of a hands-on service and provides a little bit further insight into the exploration. So this might include tours of different businesses or even job shadowing experiences in their local area. We also have instruction in self-advocacy, which really helps our students learn better communication skills and how to ask for supports that they need, either on the job or in the community, if they need them. So really bolstering and supporting their advocacy skills and just leadership skills for their future. We also have counseling on post-secondary opportunities, which offers some insight into what programs are available for students to apply for that is within their career interests after high school or after secondary school. So a lot of folks traditionally think this is just for college, but it's not. Post-secondary includes career tech, vocational training, or occupational skills training. It includes all of those different options that a student might have after they leave high school. It helps them also learn things like budgeting, financial aid supports that might be available to them. Some of those things that are important when it comes to deciding, is more training for my future career needed? And then finally, we have workplace readiness training, which focuses on some of those softer skills that we have in the workplace. So maybe that's workplace behaviors, as well as what a job search actually looks like. And in this service, a student might develop some resumes, fill out mock applications, and practice some of their interview skills. So these 5 services are available again to students with a disability and can be completed at any time throughout their time with OOD. It's available to our students that have an open OOD case, but also available. These are the only services available to students who are what we consider potentially eligible. So when I say potentially eligible, it's exactly what it sounds like. They haven't fully applied for VR. They haven't applied for an OOD case, but they have a documented disability. They meet our definition for SWD, or student with a disability, and they might be eligible for our services, but they really just want to try out these 5 or one of the 5 to dip their toes into services and supports, and at least get some foundational knowledge to support them on their journey to employment. I also want to note that these services can be done at any time during a case, and they are, you can do 1, you can do 2, you can do all 5. It really depends on what the student really needs assistance with. So again, these are our pre-employment transition services, and I highly recommend, if you have any students coming to mind, these are some really great foundation services to support them in reaching their goals. All right, next up for our students with disabilities, we have our summer youth work experience. So our summer youth work experience provides our students, again, age 14 to 21, with a documented disability, the opportunity to explore careers and gain some on-the-job training. So this helps our students obtain competitive work skills and prepare for work by participating in actual community work experiences. This ranges from 3 to 5 weeks long, and it could be usually between 12 to 20 hours a week. These students are paid, usually minimum wage, and work at a business in their own community. So it's a really great opportunity for our students to, again, dip their toes into work without some of the repercussions of working, especially if they're really new and they haven't quite figured out some of those workplace behaviors, or they're, just not quite ready to have a job in their own community yet. It's a great opportunity for them to try it out and learn what they need to work on still, areas they can improve, and what supports they might need in a future career. And I love to use this picture. So on the screen on the right side is a picture of a woman in a green jacket, and she's actually coaching one of our students with disabilities during his summer youth work experience at Culver's. So he has his Culver's uniform on, as you can see, and she's actually helping him learn where to, I want to say they're in the lobby, and she's showing him how to actually clean a certain area and what to do. So just a really great opportunity for our students to get out into the community. Maybe they've never worked before, or we're just trying to keep developing some of the work skills for these students. So I also want to point out that this usually is in a group setting. There are usually about 4 students to 1 job coach throughout the experience, and it's usually completed while they're still in high school. But for some students, we know they might need to participate in this service after they've graduated. So the summer right after their graduation. So if someone graduates, say, this May, they could participate this summer if needed. Just to, again, get that supported environment to gain some really great work experience before they go out on their own. All right. And then before I hand it off to Carrie, I do want to talk about just the fact that there are many other services available to help our individuals reach their employment goals. And so some of these services might include travel training, driver's training, assistive technology, work clothing, college and occupational training, and so many more things, along with all of our job placement and job search assistance to help them find jobs. So again, on this screen, we actually have a picture of an individual with a disability utilizing some assistive tech and learning how to utilize that in an office setting. So it's just a really good thing to note that we have many, many services available. So we can help individualize our plans and services to support the needs of the students and individuals that come to us. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Carrie now and talk about college.
Thank you, Taylor. This is Carrie again. Excuse me. So on this slide, we have a picture of 3 female presenting students. One has a walking or mobility aid, and they look like they have backpacks or bags and are walking around what appears to be a campus. So OOD may provide support to any eligible individual who requires post-secondary training to reach their employment goal. And post-secondary training is any training after acceptance of a GED, high school diploma, or equivalency. So this training could be occupational skills, vocational training, or a degree-seeking program. So in addition to occupational skills training, OOD began an initiative in 2019 called College to Careers. And College to Careers provides 32 vocational rehabilitation counselors that are designated to all the Ohio public colleges, universities, regional, and branch campuses. And these counselors have the capacity to serve around 3,000 students annually. There's some counselors that cover multiple schools, and then there's some that cover just one campus. So we initiated this initiative to support degree seeking and credentialing students to help them earn higher wages to meet the demands of tomorrow's labor market and to partner with all the public colleges and universities in Ohio. So OOD can support and serve anyone going to any school. Excuse me. But we have not special, but designated counselors at the 61 Ohio public colleges and universities. So this slide has a picture of 3 people. They look like they're either in a classroom or a library, and they're all looking at a laptop. And through the Ohio College to Careers initiative, OOD partners with Ohio colleges and universities to ensure that students with disabilities have support they need to complete their degrees, attain credentials, earn higher wages, and meet the demands of tomorrow's workforce. OOD has partnered with leadership from support offices at each institution, including the offices of disability or accessibility services and the career services offices. The College to Careers counselors may be located in disability accessibility services or career services offices. And this allows for direct communication with the relevant personnel, and it's convenient for students to connect with their counselor on campus. This also means students have a connection with someone who has a hand in both disability and career. We were talking to a C2C counselor yesterday who said she is like the plus sign between disability and careers. So people in the disability services office may know what accommodations the student needs for classes, but they might not know how that translates into the world of work. And then the people in the career services office know what careers are out there, but they might not know what an accommodation would be needed. So it also, for example, if a student has a financial aid concern, rather than just telling the student, oh, here's the phone number for the office, or here's where the office is located, the counselor, if they are present on the campus, can actually help the student by connecting the person directly to a person in that office, or even attend the appointment with them. I often bring up in these situations, I was the first college to careers counselor at Ohio State back in 2019. And I had a student that we had sent an authorization to the bookstore, but they had changed their fax number and didn't tell us. And so they never got it. And so because I was actually on campus, I could print out a copy of that authorization and physically walk over to the bookstore and help that student get their books. C2C counselors are also familiar with events and activities on campus, and they can assist students with attendance and networking. They go to orientation, they go to career fairs on campus, they go to resource fairs on campus. So on top of the career planning and the overall job placement, the C2C counselor is a one-stop shop to become familiar with campus while encouraging independence and growth. And the end goal is always independence and job placement. So some of the services that Ohio College to Careers can provide on campus is acting as a bridge between disability and career services, advocating for students and connecting students with resources and departments on campus, dedicated staff to assist with building resumes and interview prep. Every area of the state has a career development specialist designated to the college to careers schools in their area. And they meet with those counselors at least once a month to ensure that they can do interviewing skills with the person, that the student, if the student needs to find an internship or a permanent placement, that we have a network of probably over 600 employer partners throughout the state that seek our eligible individuals to come work for them. So we can help connect them with those people. If a school or a program doesn't have a specific method of placement for internship, but the student needs or could use an internship, OOD, the counselor, and the career development specialist can help connect the student to a placement for internship. We also have apprenticeships throughout the state that we can connect the student with. And I'm going to turn it back to Miss Taylor.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. This is Taylor again. And while we offer all of these services and supports to our students with disabilities, including our post-secondary students, we work with them while they're in school and for a little while after they've exited school and while they're looking for employment. And we want to make sure we help them find that right fit. And we help them, in the first several months of the job or however long it takes for them, us and the individual to agree like they're doing well on their job. They have been stable in that new job, and we know what kind of long-term supports they need, if they need any. And then we come to case closure. So unlike DD services, OOD does have a closure date, and usually the goal is that it's successful, quote unquote, but with an employment outcome. So I say all of that because there are other reasons for a student's case or an individual's case to be closed, but the goal is always that we help them find that employment and then close their case, knowing that if they ever needed more assistance, maybe to maintain that job, maybe they're ready to advance in that job, but they need some supports, they can always come back to OOD. We're always here for them. They would go through the process of application again at that time. But the goal, again, is case closure with an employment outcome. So reaching that goal of competitive and integrated employment. We want to make sure the employment goal is aligning with that individualized plan for employment we created together with the individual to make sure that we found the employment that they were really interested in and were working towards, right? We want to make sure that the services on the plan really did contribute to that, reaching that employment goal. And so reviewing that and making sure that we're in agreement that everything worked together to get them to where they are. And then again, like I mentioned, that stable employment, we have a requirement that even once they've got a job, maybe we did some job coaching or navigated some accommodations. Once that's all completed, we then start this employed clock, and we stick around for another almost 3 months, so 90 days, to make sure that that employment is the right fit for that individual and that they are considered what we call stable in that job before we would close their case, right? So again, once all of the services necessary have been provided, we're going to stick around and make sure that student and hopefully gets to obtain competitive integrated employment in their field of choice. When I say that too, it's a lot of our students, especially if we start working with them at age 14, are with us for quite some time. And that's to be expected. So we get to know our students fairly well. All right, so switching gears a little bit, if you would like to connect with OOD, if you have an individual that you would like to refer, we do have an online portal now for referrals for individuals to refer themselves or professionals, parents, friends. You can refer others if needed at our online portal, oodworks.com. our professionals, so our teachers, our SSAs, anyone that's working with multiple individuals that they would like to refer can now refer multiple individuals with their one single login. And you get to call it, kind of follow along with that referral to see where things are going. You can also sign up for the OOD newsletter if you're just interested in learning more about OOD and hearing different things that we're working on over the time. You can sign up for our newsletter by visiting our website at ood.ohio.gov. And then the option to sign up is at the very bottom of the page. You can also follow us on social media. We do have a Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I believe they're all at Ohio OOD. And then again, there is an OOD Works podcast that you can find wherever you listen to podcasts or music. And on the screen is just a snippet of what the page looks like if you were to go to oodworks.com and you want to apply for services, log into your account if you're a current participant, or if you want to submit a referral as a partner, parent, professional, whatever that looks like. All right, so I don't think I've seen any questions in the chat so far, but at this point, we're happy to take any questions.
Yes. Do we have any questions from folks? Like I said, you can either use the chat or the Q&A. Or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you if it's a more in-depth question.
Mm-hmm. I will say what's great while people are thinking about their possible questions. What's great about OOD's support of students, whether they're transition or post-secondary, is our encouragement of our counselors to be part of the education team. So for our students in high school, our counselors are part of that IEP team, part of the ISP team, collaboratively working with our partners and whoever is supporting the student as well, so that we're all working, towards similar goals and having that open communication and making sure that that individual feels supported in all aspects that are possible.
All right. Well, this just means that you all did such a wonderful and thorough job of explaining is how I interpret that. So
Yes.
I want to thank Carrie and Taylor and Jan for their time today. Thank you all for being here. This is, oh, hold on, Sean. This is a question or a thank you. That is a thank you. Again, this is a part of our Support Through a Lifespan series at Delaware County Board. If you have any topics or any resources that you're interested in learning more about, feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email in the chat as well. But another big thank you to Carrie and Taylor for being here today. And we will get this up and running on our YouTube channel and our social media as soon as we get it all edited and good to go. So thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your week.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.